Hi, this is a video to support you with converting mixed numbers into improper fractions and improper fractions back to mixed numbers. So we're going to start with what is a mixed number and what is an improper fraction. So a mixed number is a number that contains a whole number and a fraction. So this here would be an example of a mixed number. Okay, so we've got our whole number just here, and we've got our fraction next to it. Okay, an improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So this would be an example of an improper fraction. Okay, now the good thing about mixed numbers and improper fractions is that they're linked. You can write something as a mixed number and then convert it into an improper fraction and back again. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate how with the first example. So we've got 4 3/5, and I'm just going to draw it as a diagram first just to show you what's going on. So what this means, what this fraction means, is I've got 4 wholes. So there's my first, second, third, and fifth. So I've got 4 wholes, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3/5 of the next hole. Now, if you notice, each of my holes, I've drawn the rectangle around 5 squares, and the reason I've done this is because the denominator is 5, so I know my fractions out of 5, so it makes sense to draw the diagrams to be out of 5. Now, each of these squares is a fifth, which means in the first hole I have 5/5. In the next hole I've got another 5, so 10 altogether. In the next hole I've got another 5, so 15 altogether. And then in the fourth hole I've got 20/5 altogether. Now in the last part of my diagram I have 3/5 added to this 20, which means I have 23/5 in total. And that means 4 3/5 is the same as 23/5. So you should notice that the denominator hasn't changed, and that there's a reason for that. I haven't actually changed how my diagram is split. It's still in fifths, so that makes sense for the denominator to stay as a fifth. Now, you don't have to draw a diagram each time to convert from mixed numbers to an improper fraction. If you notice, actually, with these numbers here, that 5, 10, 15, 20 are actually our 5 times tables. And that's because each whole is made out of fifths, so it makes sense to count up in 5s. And 20 is the same as 4 times 5. So our whole times our denominator. And that's what it's, that's how we convert mixed numbers. Now, this 23 isn't just 20. It's actually a 4 times 5. So our whole number times our denominator with our numerator added on. So this 3 comes from this numerator, the top, added onto the 20 that we got from our wholes. So it's a good method to remember. So it's our whole number times the denominator and then you add the numerator on. Okay, and now the fraction, remember, the denominator, it doesn't change. So another example would be, let's say we've got 3 4/7. So if I use the method that I've just talked about there, or my whole number is 3. And my denominator is 7. So 3 times 7, 21. And then I'm going to add my numerator on, which is 4. And that will be the top of my fraction. And my denominator stays the same, so that's going to stay as 7. So my mixed number 3 and 4/7 will become 25/7. Okay, so that's how we change a mixed number into an improper fraction. All right, now we can also change them back. So in example 2, we've got 13/5, which is an improper fraction, and we now need to change it back into a mixed number. So if I start with a diagram again, and think about what my diagram will be made of. So this fraction is out of 5, which means each of my wholes would be made of 5 squares. So I'm going to put 5 squares together, and there's one whole. So there's 5 of my fifths used up. Now I have 13 altogether, so I'm going to draw another 5 squares together, and there's 10. But unfortunately, I don't have enough fifths to make a third whole, as I've only got 3 left over. So that will be my 3/5 at the bottom there. So I have 1 whole, a second whole, and 3/5, which means 13/5 is the same as 2 3/5. Okay, now you don't have to draw a diagram. Just like in the first example, you can, there is a mathematical way of doing it. And the key thing is to remember that a fraction line means divide. Okay, so that means 13/5 means 13 divided by 5. Now I know 5 goes into 13 twice, and we've got 3 left over. Okay, and that leftover is what goes back on top of the fraction. So this is our numerator. Okay, so that means 13/5. Well, 13 divided by 5 goes in twice. 3 left over, so that goes back on top of my numerator. And remember, just like before, our 5 is our denominator, and that stays the same in our answer as well. Okay, so I'll do one more example. So let's say I've got 27/6. So that means I'm doing 27 divided by 6. Now, if I think about my 6 times tables, it's 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So 30 is too much. It's over my 27. So that means it's 4 times it goes into 27. So that's our 4 wholes. And that takes us up to 24. And I've got 3 left over. So that's our numerator on the top. And our denominator stays as 6. I hope this video helps. Use it to help you to complete your knowledge organizer. Thank you.